November 19th, 2022 meeting of the Marquette City Commission is now called to order at 6 p.m. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. City Clerk, if you could give us a roll call, please.
Commissioner Bonzal?
Here.
Commissioner Hanley?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Stonehouse? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Here.
And Mayor.
Here. All commissioners are present. Commissioners, moving on to approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion on the agenda in front of us? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzal?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to announcements. I do have one announcement for this evening. Just informing the public that City Hall will be closed on Friday, December 23rd, Monday, December 26th, Friday, December 30th, Monday, January 2nd. Marquette Police, Fire, and Public Works and Utilities will remain operational during this time. Okay. Moving on to appointments. We have one for this evening. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the appointment? Commissioner Smith?
I move that we appoint Lauren Tilma to the Public Art Commission as stated on the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second? Commissioner Hanley?
I second that appointment.
Is Lauren here tonight? It's okay if she's not. Well, just wanted to say thank you to Lauren for willingness to step up and serve on this committee.
Commissioner Hanley?
Yes, I fully agree. It's really nice to see that every week we have more appointments to the boards and committees that we have, and I really hope that one day we can see them all full.
Any other commissioners? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, that brings us to our first public comment of the evening. Public comment may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address when giving public comment. And I just want to add as a note, if any of the candidates seeking appointment to the commission wish to speak, you'll have a chance to do so before item 5 under new business. All right. The floor is open for public comment. Anyone for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed, which brings us to presentations for the evening. We have an election presentation by our city clerk, Kyle Whitney.
All right, commissioners, Your Honor, thank you. This is just the annual presentation of the City Elections Board, which is, I would say, an extremely important board. They don't have a lot of meetings, though, so I tend to talk about elections a bit during this presentation as well. So just from the top, the Elections Board is established under the city charter. It is 4 at-large members of the community that you guys appoint, and it is myself, the city clerk, as the chair. Rachel Quayle is the liaison, and those are 4-year terms. Again, authorized by city charter. I mentioned how they don't have a lot of meetings or a lot of activity. If you're gonna join a board, this is, I would say, an integral one, and not one that requires a lengthy meeting every month or every couple of weeks. They certify local candidates for election, so candidates that file to be on the City Commission or the Board of Light and Power are certified under law by this board. They appoint election inspectors, the workers who are in the polls, in the precincts and the AV counting boards on election day, and they conduct the public accuracy test of the election equipment. So that is, all of these are public meetings, but that is a public meeting in which they're actually looking at the machines, making sure that the machines are tabulating the way that they're supposed to, and it's open to the public and seldom attended. So that's a note if anybody's interested in seeing a little bit more about these processes. They also have the ability of establishing or altering, making recommendations for changes to precinct boundaries in the city and establishing absent voter counting boards. The absent voter counting board, we always kind of touch on because this is something I think in the time that I've been in this office, this is the thing that has changed the most drastically over the last few years. Our absent voter counting board started in 2018. We processed 1,300 ballots, and we've gotten into something of a rhythm, I would say. The absent voter counting board for the November 2022 election, we had 4,400 ballots, and it was not nearly as stressful or terrifying as I would have thought 4 years ago that it would be for that number. These are people who are sequestered for the day. They process all the absentee ballots cast in the city, and in the presidential, for a benchmark there, it was over 7,000. Also, just a quick note, I think elections are a great case of people, departments in the city working together cooperatively. We've got a lot of help from a lot of other departments, including our community services department. We have our absent voter counting board in the senior center, which is pretty much the largest centralized place we could find that we weren't already using for elections. So that has been a great help. And this is the election that just wrapped up. The 2022 midterm election, voter turnout of almost 60%. You can see our registered voter numbers there. 5,700 absentee ballot applications were sent out. 4,600 roughly were returned, and 96% of those ballots that we sent out came back. You'll hear a bit about Proposal 2, which passed fairly widely statewide. It's going to change a lot of stuff for our office, and you'll probably be hearing a bit more about it in the summer when we start talking about dollars and cents. Just some of the changes, but the main change from a staffing perspective is there's going to be the establishment of early voting, 9 days of early in-person voting throughout the state of Michigan, and it's too early to really know what that looks like, but it looks different than what we've been doing to this point, I can tell you that. Just a quick overview, there's a lot of Michigan audit processes where we touch base with the Bureau of Elections following elections pretty regularly. There are procedural audits, there are statistical audits. We haven't had any of those this time because of a partial statewide ballot recount that we took part in a week and a half ago. But I would say that the recount and all of the audits that we've had in the last few years, I think the results have been sparkling, I would say. The recount process, if anybody has any questions, we're open for that. But we processed over 4,000 ballots from the city of Marquette were recounted in that recount, and every precinct was recountable. There were no issues. There was one change, I think, out of 4,165 ballots. I don't know what that looks like statewide, but I was very happy with that because it's an indication that we are closing precincts appropriately, that everything is being preserved in accordance with state law in a manner that it can be reviewed under the state mandated recount process. That is it for me. I know you guys have other stuff to talk about tonight, but if you have any questions, I'm available.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for Kyle? Commissioner Smith?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you to our city clerk, to our deputy city clerk, to your office, election workers for upholding a fair process here in the city of Marquette. I think that I hear a lot that people feel really secure in their votes here, and I'm glad and really proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sonos?
Well, I certainly would like to echo what Commissioner Smith had said, and those people, the folks, the volunteers, the people that make the election work just deserve all the accolades we can give them. That work is thankless, it's long hours, it's difficult, it's demanding, it's highly structured, and yet they do it with almost a degree of a lane. being proud of what they're doing and proud of the job that they're accomplishing. So please thank them for myself, and I'm sure all commissioners would join in that public accolade for them. One technical question, if you could answer it, however, we're going to select a commissioner tonight. At least that's the intention of what our meeting is. And there's certainly some social media chatter about, well, they ought to hold a special election. Can you tell me just a pretty well estimate of what that election would cost?
So I think the cleanest data line we have would be the presidential primary election in 2020, because those are funded by the state. So we seek reimbursement. We put all the costs together, detail everything, and itemize it. It gets audited pretty actively on their end. And when we sought reimbursement in 2020 for in excess of $22,000 for a citywide election.
So what you're in effect saying is that we would need to conduct a special election to the exact same standards that we conduct any other election in terms of integrity, honesty, and of access to voters.
The cost would be very similar or identical, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Bonson?
Yeah, Kyle, I just want to thank you for this interesting information. I think it speaks to the security and integrity of our election process locally, but also, throughout the state and the country. That, as you said, I think only one vote or one ballot changed for Prop 3 or Prop 2 and 3 out of over 4,000 counted. So, I always tell folks if they have concerns about election security or our elections process to sign up to be a poll worker, right? Or to go to the Board of Elections meeting, and you can speak during public comment, see the process for yourself. And I think if folks did that, we would have a lot less concerns about that sort of thing. So I appreciate you, and also as Commissioner Stonehouse said, I really appreciate the work that everybody does. My mother's worked as a poll worker and a precinct captain for the city, not when I've been on the ballot, but has done that in the past, and I know she's found it to be really rewarding and interesting work. So would encourage everybody to sign up, especially as I assume we're going to need even more help moving into early voting. So
Yes, absolutely.
awesome, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes. Kyle, I will just, repeat all of the appreciation remarks for you and your staff and all of the people that work the elections. That's pretty amazing, the number of people that it takes and the hours that you put in. And also congratulations on the results of the recount. That does speak to our security here. I am, the other thing that I noticed is a 96% rate on the absentee ballots, which certainly was not the case several years ago, and that's really speaks to how people want to vote. I'm curious about the 9 days of early balloting or early voting that would happen. Are we going to have to open up precincts, or will that happen within your office, or do you have a feel for that yet?
So, at this point, what has happened is the voters have approved a constitutional amendment lining out very high level items like 9 days of early in-person voting. There's a legislative component that hasn't taken place yet, where the state legislature is going to have enacting legislation essentially kind of detailing what that looks like. My understanding at this point is that it is not something that is going to be able to be done functionally in our office, because it is going to have to follow the rules of a standard in-person voting precinct as it runs now. So we're going to have to staff that with workers 8 hours a day for 9 days in advance of the election. And we can combine precincts in a way that we can't now. So we might not have to have 7 of those sites, but we will have to have at least 1.
So it sounds like elections are going to be more expensive, not less expensive.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I guess before I say anything else, because going right off of that, any idea how the chain of custody process would work at that point as well, as far as every day keeping those ballots secured?
There's a few different options, I would say, and it depends on the direction the state moves with it. It could be as simple as, we have to close a poll without actually printing results and closing the machine down every night in some way. So kind of that same process that all of our precincts undergo on election night. There might be a version of that. At this point, it's so up in the air. There are also people who talk about trying to run those precincts using QVF in a way, using the statewide database in a way that we don't use them in in-person precincts presently. So it really depends on how it's enacted. The security measures we take at the end of the night are really dependent on the path, I guess, that the legislature goes.
Thank you. And, I will just say, and I've said this before, but I think it's worth repeating every year. There was a time where I don't necessarily say I would doubt elections, but, there's a lot of very loud and outspoken public individuals that cast a lot of doubt on elections. And in 2017, I volunteered as a poll challenger. And that was a very eye-opening experience for me as far as understanding truly all the steps that go into, when someone votes, making sure that vote's properly counted, properly secured. And I think Commissioner Bonsall mentioned this as well, that really volunteering, whether it's a poll worker, as a poll challenger, like getting that perspective is really valuable, I think, for anyone that maybe questions the process a little bit. But I do want to thank you, Kyle, and your staff and all of the volunteers and poll workers we had. I feel like the last several years, Marquette, for one reason or another, we've had a recall request, and every year it's clear that Marquette is doing what it's supposed to be doing with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on now to our consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion on consent? Commissioner Hanley?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzel?
Yeah, I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. Moving on to new business. Item 4, which is our charter study group. Trying to decide we want background or city manager if you wanted to talk. Okay, good. Okay. City clerk, background, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The Marquette City Charter, which took effect on January 1st, 2013, requires the City Commission to appoint a charter study group every 10 years. The charter study group will have 1 year to review the charter and make recommendations for amendments. Any amendments would ultimately need to be supported by the City Commission and adopted via a citywide ballot item. While the charter doesn't explicitly state what the makeup of this board should be, minutes from the 2012 Charter Commission provide some insight on the original intentions. The original idea, as expressed in meeting minutes and in motions, was to require the City Commission to request an internal administrative review of the charter every 10 years and to pair it with the City Commission public hearing seeking citizen input. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, appoint a charter study group comprised of the city manager, city clerk, and city attorney, and direct the group to determine the need for amendments to the city charter within 1 year. Also, direct the city manager to plan for and schedule at least one public hearing in 2023 to obtain public feedback on this topic. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Your Honor, I motion to appoint a charter study group comprised of the city manager, city clerk, and city attorney, and direct the group to determine the needs for amendments to the city charter within 1 year. Also direct the city manager to plan for and schedule at least one public hearing in 2023 to obtain public input on this topic.
Thank you. And do we have a second on that motion? Commissioner Bonzel?
I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
Commissioner Stonehouse, any
Well, I
comment?
would only comment, Your Honor, that this is a requirement every 10 years to update the city charter. This is a good and open method, transparent, I believe, to solicit the input to it and make the changes that may be necessary before the charter recommendation is brought before the voters for approval.
Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes, thank you. I agree, and I also just want to add that I think that this is this year in 2023 is going to be a very important year for the city. Not only are we updating our community master plan, but we're also updating our city potentially updating our city charter, which is sort of like our own little constitution here in the city of Marquette on how we run things in our city. So. Frequently, as I think Commissioner Stonehouse alluded to earlier, you hear, folks complaining about the way different processes work at the city level. I've, had, people complain about, why, different restrictions on how the city can sell or transfer property, and that maybe makes it difficult for the city to support nonprofits or other, community ventures, or people complain about, the city commission choosing to appoint a city commissioner to fill a vacancy rather than holding a special election, which would cost a lot of money, as our city clerk noted. So if we want changes to the way the city does business, and we see limitations with the current charter, now is the time for community members to speak up and make those concerns known during a public hearing at some point this year. So I hope that when we hold this public hearing, that it will be accessible for everyone at a time when most city residents can realistically attend, maybe even some sort of virtual input or participation option. And I'm curious if we feel if it would be possible to maybe incorporate this into the community master planning process. It seems that we would want our community master plan and our charter to be aligned with one another. So I'm curious if the city manager or anybody else could provide any thoughts on that, or how you would intend to do this public hearing next year.
So I would probably have further discussion with the consultant on how that could be done, or if that is something that would really work well together. Otherwise, we would really put in some efforts here for the public hearing. As you stated, really trying to solicit the feedback in a very meaningful way. But I do believe that when we are going forward with the community master plan, that an initial survey is going to cover quite a bit, and then really looking at the direction we go from there. But I can certainly look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It seemed that there's a, maybe it's sort of a coincidence, but there's sort of maybe it's a fortuitous coincidence that we're looking at updating our master plan and are potentially updating our charter at the same time. So, but thank you for the work you're going to do on that. I think this is very important. I'm glad that we're moving forward on this.
Anyone else comment on this item, discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. Moving on to our last item of the evening, which is the appointment of a city commissioner. Before I entertain any motions, I want to take a moment to explain kind of the recommended process so that everyone has an understanding and a little bit more clarity. Each candidate seeking appointment to the commission will be given 3 minutes of privileged comment at the start of the process. I will invite each candidate up to the podium for their chance to speak in alphabetical order. Once every candidate has been given the opportunity to speak, we will begin the selection process. Each commissioner will vote for one candidate by a written vote, which will be counted and verified by the city clerk. The city clerk will read the results of the total number of votes out loud. The written vote is more or less, though I should note, a straw poll to determine majority support amongst the commission. Once a candidate is identified as having majority support or determined in an alternative manner, a motion will still be needed to actually appoint that candidate. A candidate must receive a minimum of 4 votes to be appointed. If no candidate receives 4 or more votes following the first round of written voting, indicating that majority support has not been determined, The commission will vote again. Any candidate that does not receive a vote, their name will be removed from consideration for all subsequent votes. This process will continue until a candidate is identified as having majority support. In the event of a tie or after several consecutive rounds of voting, I will look to the commission to make any actionable motion. Once a motion is on the floor and seconded, the commission can then have an open discussion regarding the motion, the candidates, and next steps. That being said, commissioners, in order for the privileged comment to occur, I still do need a motion to entertain.
Your Honor, could we have the background, please?
Yes. City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Honor. A city commission vacancy was created effective November 15th following the resignation of Commissioner Jen Hill. Under the provisions of the Marquette City Charter, the city commission has 60 days in which to fill a vacancy via appointment. The commission voted unanimously on November 14th to accept applications from all interested parties and to consider the applications and appoint a new commissioner at tonight's meeting. The application was made available on the city website and by mail to interested parties. Applications were accepted from November 15th until 4 p.m. on December 8th. In that time, the city clerk received 9 applications from interested parties. The applicants listed alphabetically are Perry David Allen, John Brahms, Peter Frazier, Tom Hogan, Alexi Koltowitz, Jeremy Ottaway, Tony Tollefson, and Sarah Weinsch. Candidate Blake Kuhn has formally withdrawn his application. All applications are attached, and all applicants have been verified by staff and meet the eligibility requirements stipulated by city charter. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, utilize paper ballots to arrive at a consensus in order to appoint a new city commissioner. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Smith.
I move that we utilize paper ballots to arrive at a consensus in order to appoint a new city commissioner.
And do we have a second on that motion? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Carry on with the process, please.
All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
What? Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now, I'm going to look to our city attorney real quick. Can I request the commissioner to grant all of them privilege comment in one go?
You can actually grant privilege comment without a motion.
I don't need a request for it? Perfect. All right, well, in that case, David Allen, if you would like to speak first, you have 3 minutes.
Used to my name getting me up here first. It's a new experience for me doing an application in public like this. I know you guys have all been through an actual election and candidate forums, and so I thought, rather than be nervous about it, I'll embrace it. So what I thought I'd do is I would just try to tell you quickly the 4 aspects of my application that I would just elevate for your consideration. One, I have a lifelong passion for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. My family's been coming up here since 1927. I've been coming up here myself since 1965. I love this place, and I love looking for ways to help this place be a great community for everyone. And that goes for not just Marquette, but for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We've got a family camp over in Hiawatha National Forest. Second, I spent most of my career trying to get here and finally succeeded in 2003. But that career also has some relevance. I spent about 28 years working for public agencies at the local level, tribal level, state level, interstate commissions, and federal government in 25 different states. And I did that as a civil servant and as a consultant. So that's given me a pretty deep appreciation for how government works, how different government agencies work together at different levels, and so I think that's relevant. Since getting here in 2003, it brings me to my third point, I became active with the local community. And so it's a very vibrant community, as you all know. I started off in music, started playing with the Marquette City Band, Marquette Symphony Orchestra, the Westerly Winds Band, Kiwanis Symphony Orchestra, ended up on boards, helping with those organizations, and just loved the community. In more recent years, I decided to try to become more involved with actual city government. And so I joined the Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. I'm the current chair, and I've really loved that work. And so I've been doing that since about 2017. At about the same time, I also became involved with League of Women Voters at both the state level and county level. So I serve on both of those boards. And that's given me an opportunity to work with observer corps and elections and all sorts of things like that. And so I've had an opportunity to really learn about the nuts and bolts of what's happening here locally with government. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to say is I do have a vision. I realize there's a tremendous amount of work that comes before this commission, all of which is incredibly important, and I would look forward to doing that. But I also have some ideas of specific things I'd like to work on. Affordable housing, framed by the whole housing issue, is a very important issue to me. Because of the brownfield work I've done, the old hospital site is incredibly important to me. I think we're at a crossroads there for this either becoming a blighted area or a vibrant place, and so I'd like to be involved with some of that. Some of the music things like the old band shell, maybe we can get a performing arts center as part of this thing that happens at the hospital site, things like that are all in my mind. And of course, the master plan, which is just now ramping up, as you just were discussing. So thank you very much. Do I stay for questions or do I just go? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, next up, John Brumps.
Good evening. My name's John Brahms. I assure you I don't have any COVID or anything. I just have a minor cold, so I want to take a precaution with the mask. I live in Marquette my entire life, at least my legal residence my entire life. I hope to make Marquette continue a great place to raise a family. I'm married. I have 2 children of my own that go to Marquette High School. You know, I currently work at the Marquette Area Public Schools as a special education aide. And I have a background in the military. I was in the National Guard in Marquette for 1 year. And I spent 24 years on active duty where I received a bachelor's in government and I have a master's in general administration. I do have some history in running for a local office. I ran for the Board of Light and Power several times, and I was a state Senate candidate in this previous election. Some of the things I've done in the community, I'm a member of the local officers compensation committee or commission. I'm also the treasurer of the Marquette County Democratic Party and a member of the Marquette County League of Women Voters. I'm also a member of the Post 44 American Legion, where I maintain my connection with the veterans community in our local area. Some of the main issues I would think going forward that I would like to focus on, redevelopment of the former Marquette General Hospital property to include affordable housing, I think is very important. You know, that's a very large area of over 20 acres. That's going to make a big change in how we address that. I also like to see a final cleanup and reuse of the Cliff Dow property. That's been a former chemical site that hasn't been really redeveloped in over several decades. In one area, I like to maintain public lakeshore and make sure that we restrict development of any kind of private use on our lakeshore. So those are kind of the brief overview of what I hope to accomplish if I'm appointed to the City Commission. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pete Fraser.
We're saying up here, this side of that side of it. But you know, basically 9 years in the city. I've been here my whole life, but 9 years. I was 3 years in Presque Isle Board, and 6 years in City Commission. And I've thought about doing other boards. I've always had a passion for the parks. I've been involved with the parks, not as far as the board, but always been involved with what's going on. I was involved with Presque Isle when that got damaged. You know, we took tours, everything for when that got damaged, and you know, talked about what we could do to save it. And then I remember having the Presque Isle, not the Presque Isle, but Picnic Rocks area, talk about that. You know, there's talk of engineers underwater, how we could do to save that area when that got destroyed from the last of, you know, storms, so forth and so on. I've been very involved in the city. You know, I've been not as far as being on the commission, but I've been involved, like I've been friends in the Harbor Advisory Committee. I've been involved, I know the marina manager, I've been very involved with the marina, very involved with the lakeshore. Always been very involved, interested in what's going on for everything, mostly Presque Isle Park, because my grandfather had a choice in that, but always been very involved in stuff, and always liked to, I've been supposed to the old hospital. Our old city manager, Bill Veda, had talks a long time ago before it was bought about possibly making that into housing or something like that. Because he said, well, we got this old hospital, might be be sold. Looked at maybe getting state funding to make it housing or something, like apartments or something like that, just something he brought up. Like I said, I'm friends, old friends, a couple city managers, and quite a few mayors, so forth and so on. Always been very able to see, I still have friends in the city. Always been there. Always see a lot of stuff online too, especially someone else recommended social media. I still see some of that stuff. I try to respond anymore because I don't have any power, but I still see, I try to make recommendations of what I know. So, this and that, so forth and so on. And, it was big things we were involved in was involved in Founders Landing, but, a couple projects in Founders Landing, was involved with the new dock being poured out there and so forth and so on, and many projects around the city. And we just see what's happened with the new hospital going up, because I was told a long time ago that the original person that was going to do the whole hospital was going to put affordable housing around the area, because the hospital owned many lots around the area. They talked about maybe doing affordable housing around the area, so we'll see what happens with that and how much the city can do with that with the private owner, but we'll see what we can do.
Thank you. Mr. Tom Hogan?
Your Honor, Commissioners, city staff, candidates, and my fellow citizens. I'm not gonna rail yard. Over the edge was the bum's jungle where fellas lived and had little shacks and whatnot. Texaco was down on the end of Baraga with big gas tanks there, a tank farm. The bypass was just a creek in a big valley, and people throw stuff over the hill. Snowberry was a big cement plant and all railroad yard out past the hospital. We had the swamp, and now we have baseball fields and whatnot. The Cliff Dow, and I graduated from high school at this very spot. And when you graduated then, you had three choices. One was if you had money, you went to college. Two was the military, or three was US 41 South. Go find a job. All of that has changed now. Marquette is a destination. People are gonna come here, we're gonna grow, and we're gonna have many changes. And we have to work together to find the best things. Currently with the IBW, we're trying to recruit workers. We use social media, TikTok, Instagram, all the things that a guy my age doesn't necessarily know about, right? But we recruit veterans, National Guard, and we're gonna have people here, and we're gonna continue to grow. So we have to be prepared. They need a place to live. Everybody knows that. It's not something I have to really expand on. But I would like to use my experience on the commission before, other things, my age and knowledge of what Marquette was and where we're headed, and my background in construction. And I just would like to thank this commission for the opportunity for me to speak and your consideration. And thank you, and good luck.
Thank you. I'm told that the YouTube stream might be frozen.
So it looks like the video is frozen, but audio is still working at this time.
Audio is still coming through.
Okay, thank you.
They're working on the cameras.
Perfect, thank you.
We'll try to get that fixed before voting.
All right. Next, Miss Alexi Kultowicz. Mister, sorry. Okay. Moving on then, we have Mr. Jeremy Ottaway.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the commission for your consideration in this process and for allowing me to speak today. This moment has kind of become a full circle moment for me. As many of you know, my journey in city government started about 6 years ago. I decided to run for city commission at that time. I was unsuccessful in that campaign and later was heavily considered for the commission for seats that were appointed to Commissioner Smith and later Commissioner Schlegel. I ran 2 additional times, 2018, 2019. Then I decided to pause my campaign efforts for a little while to fully commit myself to serve the Downtown Development Authority and the Marquette Board of Zoning Appeals. Eventually there I became chair of both boards. During each of my campaigns and opportunities for appointment to this commission, I was encouraged by many prior commissioners, including some of you today that are still here, to really gain more knowledge and just continue doing what I'm doing. I've heard it from Commissioner Stonehouse so many times. Continue doing what you're doing. We need more people like you, and we sure do. Look at the first slide. We don't have enough people volunteering. But during that time, I learned things that were just invaluable to me today. Looking back at it, I'm pretty glad I didn't win those elections or the appointments, because I wouldn't be where I am today and ready to serve in the capacity that I am now. Being on other city boards and taking on important roles in city government really gave me a much better understanding of how the city of Marquette operates, and it's better prepared me to serve now. Because of my time on the BZA, I have a wonderful understanding of the LDC. I understand how to read and interpret form-based code. I have experience not only participating in public meetings and hearings, but running them. My time on the DDA, I have oversaw high-level budget conversations for the organization, participated and contributed to creating our downtown plan, and I've worked with the organization to implement things like facade grants and other opportunities for the district. I've learned more about brownfield redevelopment plans than anyone would want to, except for someone who's maybe serving on the Brownfield Authority. Most importantly, I oversaw and supported our executive director, including organizing and implementing the process for finding a new director. I mention this as, in my opinion, it's one of the most important jobs a commissioner can have. It's extremely important everyone understands I have a strong relationship with our current city manager. I've worked side by side with her over the past 2 years, and because of this, a transition for us to continue working together is extremely seamless. They're wonderful candidates who've applied. Any one of them would make great commissioners, but I believe the experience I've gained over the past 6 years has prepared me to serve now. Once again, I appreciate your consideration, and I look forward to continue serving the city of Marquette in the capacity that the city commission chooses for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Mr. Tony Tullifson.
Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity. When I was first on the commission a couple decades ago, it was during that tenure that Marquette got its first recognition as nationally as one of the most livable cities in the country. And it was through the work of a lot of people following what was going on that was very important to get us to that point. I don't have any real agendas. I didn't then, as far as just wanting to make sure we have good government, that we do have a planning process, that we take the input from the community, and then work for what's best for the community to move forward. As you can see, you've gotten the applications from everybody, so you have the background. I have been on the Marquette board for off and on for 30 years. I once previously was a commissioner and on the Marquette board, so that would not create a conflict if I was appointed tonight. And having been your representative, one of the city representatives on Marquette, I have met with our city manager and given some input and things when recently when the planning process was going on. So I've been diligent in my efforts there. I just look forward to, if I get appointed and elected, that continue to work with all of you to make Marquette a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. And last up, we have Sarah Winch?
It was a good effort. It is Sarah Winch Reynolds. Commissioners, Mayor, I stand here today looking for your appointment with the vacancy of Jen Hill. I come here, I've said this before, being on the city commission was my second favorite thing that I've ever done. First, having my child city commission second. And what I have the ability to bring to the table is constituents. Constituents still reach out to me consistently, asking me questions, calling me, bugging me, and most of the time I end up passing the information off to Commissioner Smith and ask her to answer the questions for me because I'm not always up to date on things. But everybody that's mentioned things this evening, the hospital site, Cliff Stow, everything that's been mentioned are things that you are currently working on and you continue to work hard on, and I'm still up to date on and paying attention to and ready to get into these footsteps of being a commissioner again. I'd very much appreciate if you guys voted for me. If you have any questions or anything, let me know, but that's all I really got. Oh, Jesus.
Thank you. All right. And City Clerk, if you could reread the motion on the floor for us.
So the motion on the floor by Commissioner Smith, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, is to utilize paper ballots to arrive at a consensus in order to appoint a new city commissioner.
And do we have any discussion on the motion, commissioners? Commissioner Smith?
I just wanted to thank the folks for providing a little bit more information aside from what we received on the applications. And I'm hoping that either our mayor or one of our city staff can help guide us through this next part in the process.
Commissioner Bontel?
Yes, thank you. I would echo that, and I just want to thank everybody who was able to be here tonight and speaking to all of us. It's inspiring to see how many people in the community, at the beginning of meetings or the end of meetings, we often focus on all the vacancies we have on city boards and how, oh, nobody wants to volunteer. Well, we have a lot of folks in the room here who have volunteered, not only on city boards and things, or served on the commission in the past, but are also benefiting our community and being involved in our community in other ways. And so I mean, this is a very difficult decision, and we're very fortunate to have many well-qualified candidates. So thank you all for applying and being here tonight.
Commissioner Hanley?
Thank you. I also want to thank everyone that applied. I first applied trying to get a spot and I failed and then ran. And so I appreciate the challenge that it is to apply and stand before the commission. I did mine over YouTube during COVID, but it was still difficult. And so I want to thank you all for coming and talking to us. I do encourage anyone that is here, as I've said before, if you do not get selected, to run in the upcoming election in November. Even though it is running against myself, I still think it is something that I would like to see. I think the more people that our city has to choose from, the better we are to serve them. And so I really encourage that, and thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Just a quick comment, and I agree with Commissioner Bonzel that we really have a stellar group of people that are here on our list. And, you know, with years of experience of interest in the city, and we've got 4 previous city commissioners and 2 who are currently serving on as chairs of boards, and the amount of interest is really nice. And it's also, I notice how many of our candidates are very engaged in the community, and you know, thank you for that, and thank you for the sincere interest that you have in working with our city.
All right, I don't think I have too much more to add. I would just also like to express my gratitude for everyone applying, for all the previous service everyone's given, and for the 2 of you that are still serving. If you're not appointed, I hope you continue to serve. And for anyone that doesn't get appointed tonight, we still have lots of vacancies if you would like to volunteer. Okay, with that being said, is there any more discussion? Okay. So all those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? And City Clerk, if just kind of like how we did the Mayor and Pro Tem, if you want to kind of.
Yeah, so everybody should have in front of them a stack of ballots very similar to the mayor and mayor pro tem votes from recently. If you just want to indicate on there your vote, for the applicant of your choice. I'll come around and collect them, and then Captain Finkbeiner and I will tally them up and let you know the results.
Thank you.
So I know we were here until 11:14 last time we did this, but with 6 votes, it looks like the commission is supporting Jeremy Ottaway. So then again, we would need an actual motion and second from the commission.
Commissioners, do we have?
Everybody
Yeah, I see that. You've gone 3 years without making one.
I move that we appoint Jeremy Ottaway to the City Commission for the vacancy created by Jen Hill's resignation and invite him to come up to the dais after the vote.
Motion by Commissioner Smith. Do we have a second on that? Commissioner Hanley?
I second that motion.
All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
And I can administer an oath at the front as well, if you want to meet me over there.
Pink shoes.
It's better than what I usually wear. It's toned down just for you, Commissioner Stone.
Raise your right hand.
Come over here.
I
I don't usually do
Hear me
that.
out way.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Charter of the City of Marquette,
and the Charter of the City of Marquette,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the Marquette City Commission
of the office of the Marquette City Commission
of the City of Marquette,
of the City of Marquette,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So if you want to just sign that one. And you can keep that one. There's no file. Take it back here to see what happens. Thank you.
Welcome and congratulations, Commissioner Ottaway. Great. Now that brings us on to our second public comment of the night. And as a reminder, public comment may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please clearly state your name and physical address when giving public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment? Anyone for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Which brings us to comments from the commission. Just going off my list here, I've got us starting off with Commissioner Smith.
Well, it's the holiday season, so happy holidays to everyone. We will not have a meeting again until January 9th, which is in the new year, several weeks from now, it feels like. Wanted to remind folks that Travel Marquette still has the lasers on the ORDOT going on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday nights, 6 to 9, through some point in January, but definitely the next couple weekends. We just went and did that, and our favorite part was Santa skiing across the ORDOT. So definitely get out there and check that out. Give our plow drivers plenty of room. I think we have a storm coming up later this week, and also some cooler temps. So check on your neighbors and things, and hope folks have a nice holiday season. And congratulations to Commissioner Ottaway. We're glad to have you.
Congratulations, and welcome to another phase of your life, and certainly, I think, one of the most difficult job that maybe you've ever done. All of us, I think, would feel that way over time. This is the 4th time I've participated in a commission selecting a commissioner. In other words, a commissioner either be elected to higher office, the case for 2 of them, one with a death, and I forgot the reason the 4th one went, voluntary resignation. But it's a difficult process every time, and every time I ask the same questions of the folks that willingly threw their name in the hat and didn't make it is, please continue to serve. Please find a job that, on a city committee, find in a position that you like, that you really can contribute to the city of Marquette, and keep contributing. Don't say, they didn't take me, I'm going to go home with my marbles. Bring them back again, please, and help your fellow citizens in whatever manner you may choose to. There's a galaxy of individual authorities and committees that the city has, I think somewhere around 26. All of them can certainly use your assistance. So personally, I'm asking you to continue to do that. The other ask I have is have a great holiday and enjoy it. We do have snow coming, so we're going to have a white Christmas. Thank you, Your Honor.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I just want to say thank you to the commissioners. I appreciate this process maybe more than anyone needs to, since I've went through it so many times myself. But it's made me a better person for it. I'm not going to go through the same 3 minutes of what I just did, but I do want to echo Commissioner Stonehouse and just really talk about how important it is to serve your community. Whether it is in a city board, serving with, the Martran, serving on a county board, or anything, get involved. There's always need out there, and I can tell you everyone that's up here is doing more than just being a city commissioner. Everyone's involved in something else. We all are. I know everyone thinks that they don't have time, but really, it's important. There's not really much more that's important than your community. So, thank you.
Commissioner Bonzel?
Yes, I just want to also, echo my colleagues in congratulating my new colleague, Commissioner Ottaway. Thank you so much for your not only applying and stepping up to serve in this role, but really serving our community very well for many years. And so, looking forward to seeing what that next chapter of service looks like for you and for the other 6 of us who will be working with you. And thank you to everybody who applied. As Commissioner Hanley said, I would love to see folks not only continue serving the community in the ways that they are now, but consider running for election next year. There will be 3 seats up on the city commission, and one of the nice things about the way our city charter works now is we have elections for the city commission every single year, so people always have opportunities to get involved. Serving on the city commission has been one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. It's been incredibly rewarding. It's not easy to run for office or to put your hat in the or put your name in the hat for an appointment in a public setting like this, and but it's well worth it. So I would encourage everyone to stay involved. The other thing I want to note is just that I know at our previous meeting, the mayor was out with an illness, and so I just want to say that I'm glad to see you back at the meeting tonight, and also just wanted to reiterate my request that if possible that we work with you work with the city manager to schedule a special meeting for sometime in January 2023 to discuss housing and potentially take action on that. So specifically some of the properties we discussed at our June 2022 work session of the City Commission. So thank you for your consideration. But aside from that, I hope everybody has a happy holiday season, gets to spend a lot of time with family and friends, and as Commissioner Smith said, let's be safe with some of the weather coming up. So thank you.
Commissioner Hanley?
Thank you. I would like to echo what everyone has said. I don't know if I'm disappointed that we didn't go to 80 votes, but no. I think that it's great to know that we had so many good options that it was going to be a difficult decision for everyone up here. And I'm happy that we were able to come to a consensus and bring in a new commissioner that will bring in a new and different perspective to replace Commissioner Hill. And I am very happy that it is you, as well as it could have been any of the candidates, but I'm looking forward to working with you. I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and happy, I believe Hanukkah is still going on. I hope everyone is happy and healthy and safe over the holidays, and stay safe with we just got emails not too long ago about getting to do ride-alongs in the plow truck, and I don't think I've been more excited about anything as a commissioner up until this point. But the idea of getting to ride in a big plow truck and clean the streets and see what our public works employees do on a regular basis and what they have to do to try and get through some of our very narrow streets while vehicles are parked on it will be a very interesting thing to see and a good perspective for all of us. So thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think this has been a great meeting, and I'm also honestly kind of surprised at how smoothly that process just went a little bit, but you have not gotten to talk. I'm going to stop talking. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, please.
I really don't have much. Welcome, Commissioner Ottaway. The years that you have spent showing interest in this position really speaks to how we voted tonight, and I really appreciate that. And, I know that this will kind of make you resign from the head of the DDA board, and I see Tara McKenzie over there. I'm kind of worried, but we'll get through that. And so thank you for all of your years on the DDA board, and you will have to resign, and welcome to the commission. And also, happy holidays, everyone.
Only two things I was really going to add was I wanted to again welcome you, Commissioner Ottaway, to our lovely band up here, and again thank all the candidates that did apply, and I hope all of you are open to possibly applying for a city board or one of our committees and still staying involved in that capacity, or even running next year. Commissioner Stonehouse will be term limited, and Commissioner Hanley and I will both be on the ballot. So, there's 3 seats. Last thing, I just want to respond to Commissioner Bonzel's question. City manager and I are discussing the possibility of looking into some sort of work session for the surplus property. Our January schedule right now is panning out to look pretty heavy so far, but I will keep you updated on that. And with that, do we have any comments from our city manager?
Yeah, just a couple. With that snowstorm approaching, because winter is coming, I do just want to give a great appreciation for our first responders who are working 24/7, but also are going to probably be working a little bit more with the snowstorm coming. But then also for our Department of Public Works, who are often called out at all hours of the night or do have a night shift and will be away from their families during the holidays. So I do want to recognize them, especially because they are working incredibly hard now. And then with snow, it's an additional effort out there. So please make sure you give them a wave and show them some appreciation as well. And then secondly, while trial by fire is always fun for Commissioner Ottaway, we will be reaching out to do a new commissioner training or orientation. And just so that the public is aware, we do go through quite a few things for introduction, including explaining the roles of both the city manager and the city attorney, but also all of our departments. And so it's an excellent opportunity to get you scheduled and to ride along one of the plows, police vehicles and things like that. But then going through some of those other details like rules of procedure, policies and whatnot. So it'll be a fun couple of weeks trying to get you all acclimated, although it won't be completely foreign because of your current role on our boards and committees. So just look forward to that, and I'm sure he's going to be learning a lot. And if there are other commissioners that would like a brush up on that, please feel free to reach out too. But you guys are all seem like experts, so. Well, then we will certainly.
I was there. Oh, you were there?
It was
we got the
probably-
booklet, but
No, Ron and I, and The city manager.
Oh, okay. No, I never talked about
I-
it. was like,
I-
it feels
Not
like
with
I need
me.
to ride in a plow truck or a police car, though.
That was COVID.
We had
It was
COVID,
the
so I
height of
believe
COVID.
Commissioner Hanley and I did not do that aspect, yes.
I'm sorry, yeah, I meant the
Okay.
coming in,
Yes.
beginning,
Yeah.
yes, or did an orientation,
Yeah, we
sorry.
had to sit in here like separate.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sure it wasn't going to be nearly as entertaining as it is going to be with Suzanne and I, so. And that's a guarantee. But anyways, that is all. Thank you. And have a happy holidays.
And with that, we are adjourned at 7:05 PM.